Hiya, folks. It's me, Steve Valentine from the Mount Vernon Brewing Company in Mount Vernon, Ohio. Today, I want to talk a little bit about home brew kits. And this isn't so much a review of home brew kits, although could be that too. These are both kits that we've bought before and we enjoyed the outcome. But this is more to let you know what's in the box. So if you're new to home brewing, you've never used one of these kits before, you kind of want to know what's in there. And even though a lot of times they give you a general idea what's in the box, you don't know what you need. Do I need to add something to that? Is everything in there? In a lot of cases, it's not. So again, if you're new to the process, it can be frustrating if you get a kit, doesn't have everything you need, or it just wasn't what you were expecting and you don't have the equipment to brew it. And that can be a pain if your home brew store or the place that you would have to go for supplies is going to be, an hour away. So I'm kind of out here, not necessarily in the middle of nowhere. I've got some places I can go to get parts and those things. If I needed some priming sugar, I could go to the local Walmart or Kroger's or whatnot and get that kind of stuff. But when it comes to whole grain and that kind of stuff, there's just nowhere for me to locally buy it. So that's now either I order it and wait a couple days, or you get the idea. So I want to show you some kits, and as we go through the kits, you're going to see that all kits are not created equal. So I certainly have my favorites. I like to shop around and buy kits from other places just to get a little bit of variety and try something new. But again, not all created equal, and I'm going to tell you why I have my favorites. So let's dig in.
Okay, so first kit that I want to talk to you about today is the Russian Imperial Stout from Brewer's Best. So this is a premium recipe, which basically just means you're getting a whole lot of ingredients, and it might also explain the slightly higher price tag that you're expected to pay for this kit. But I'm going to show you a Russian Imperial Stout. It's, if you've made it before, if you haven't made it before, you're going to find out this is just a really thick, heavy-bodied beer. So when they say imperial, that imperial generally just means a whole lot of grain. Lots of grain. So when you're done with your wort and you're putting it in your kettle, it looks like molasses, and that's good. That's going to make some good beer. So anyhow, I've brewed a lot of these kits. Brewer's Best is one of my favorites. They put there right on the box, everything you need to craft your best brew. And they mean it. Everything you need is in here. Of course, you still need the equipment to brew your stuff. And we'll be doing some brewing tutorials at some point. But let's break into the box and see what's in there. I can do this one-handed. Okay, so first thing we see in here, yeast. And this is laying on top because I left it on top. It was probably down in here at some point. But whenever I get a kit, first thing I do is open it up, look for the yeast. We hope that there's yeast inside. If not, we should have ordered that. It does say on the side of the box that this contains yeast, so good to know. It also has an expiration date, and I just cannot tell you how important that is. It has got to be good. This is a lot of work. You're going to spend hours on this. Then you're going to wait a few weeks, maybe possibly a few months. Then you're going to bottle it. Then you're going to wait another couple weeks. And if this yeast was crap, then your product's going to be crap as well. So this yeast, I can see, this says expires 5/2021. So I've got a year to do it. That's good. It's only 5/2020 right now. So perfect. The yeast is good. We're also going to get some marketing materials. So here's a couple cards. These are all the things you can brew. It's like back in the day when you had all the other comics you could get from a comic book. Fun. Some more marketing materials, some more marketing material. Don't need any of that. I can go right into the trash. This is very important. This is your instructions. I really like their instruction sheets because, for one, the layout of the information is done in a really sensible way. This is, step by step. Today is your brew day. Write the date in there. This is going to be your schedule. This is when you start brewing, and this is when you add these items, and this is when you stop. So again, when you're new to home brewing, it's good to have these instructions laid out for you. Most recipes, they assume you know what you're doing. They're not going to time everything out for you. You don't have this timetable. That's something you have to build yourself. You also don't have a recipe list. This is fun because if you like what you got, you don't necessarily have to buy this kit again. You now own the recipe. So I could take this same recipe and go out and buy these ingredients myself and brew this exact same beer and it'll come out the exact same way. So why would I keep buying the kit? For one, I'm saving some money. I found in most cases, especially with an imperial stout, if I go out and buy all these ingredients myself, I'm not going to get it for the price I paid for this guy. So just a little more about the instruction sheet. As you can see, there's our schedule, there's our instructions, our procedures. This layout is always the same. Any one of their kits has this sheet of paper with the beer title, the ingredients list, a glossary. So again, if you're brand new, you don't know what a DME is, that's your dried malt extract. And also, this gives you the original gravity and your final gravity. I've gotten a lot of beer kits where there is no final gravity reading listed, which leads you to wonder, what's my beer going to be like? What's it supposed to be like? So they give you those ranges for a good reason, and when we start brewing and showing you how these kits work, we'll get into that. If I flip it over there, the procedures go on, and you end up with a fermentation, you end up with bottling day, again, place for your date to pencil that in there. And at the end of the process, when you're all done, you got to figure out, did I hit my alcohol mark? Is this beer going to taste good? And is it going to contain alcohol? We hope so. So they have a little calculator for figuring that out. So this is my original gravity reading, my final gravity reading, multiply it by 131.25, and that's going to be my ABV. So nice that they give me that. All right, so let's put my instructions aside, and I want to keep that safe. I want to keep it dry. I like to hang mine right on the fridge, and I keep a pencil nearby so I can make notes on that. All right, so anyhow, what else do we get? Well, we got a sock. This is a grain sock. Sometimes they call this muslin material. I've seen this called all sorts of stuff, but it's a very stretchy material. These are dirt cheap. You can buy like 10 for $1 at your local brew shop. But you will need one. And this is a pretty sizable sock here because we're going to have a lot of grain. Again, with an imperial beer of any kind, you're going to get a lot of grain. So here's one grain bag. This is my crushed Cara Munich dark malt. Cool. Note, it's crushed. So if I don't have a grain mill or something to crush grain with, that's fine. They did it for me. What else do I got? More grain. So here we have a pound of crushed black barley and chocolate wheat. Now in this case, they put 2 in the same bag. I got 8 ounces of each. Can we do that? Sure, because you know what? I'm going to put that all in one sock. And if I have multiple, if I've got some spare brew socks, which I do, I might even split that up and just separate my grain into 2 bags, just because it makes it easier to get the water in and out of there and rinse your grain. So again, we'll talk more about that when we actually brew this stuff. What else do I got? Ooh, hops. This is not necessarily a hoppy beer, so I just got 2 little bags. One is a Columbus hop pellets, and the other is another Columbus hop pellets. So could they have given me a 2-ounce bag? Sure. Why 2 1-ounce bags? Well, if we go down to our instructions, we're probably going to find that we add the hops at later times. Oh, nope, add both packs. So why two bags? Probably just helps them with manufacturing. All right, so we'll set that aside. We got some maltodextrin. Not something you often have in most varieties of beer, but for Russian Imperial, this is pretty important. Put that aside. And now we start getting down to our malts. So there's 2 types, there's really 3 varieties of malts we get in a home brew kit. You get grain, and a lot of times they refer to this as specialty grain, indicating that this is just going to sharpen or slightly change the flavor of your beer. And then we get the generic stuff. So we got a bag of dark malt. We've got a bag of dark malt. So there we got 2 1-pound bags of the same thing. Put those aside. What do we got here? This is liquid malt extract. And it comes out, it looks like a thick, like almost like maple syrup if you haven't played with this stuff before. Smells good. It's very sweet. What this is actually the same thing I'd get if I did a all grain recipe. But if I did an all grain rinse and I took that water and I melted it down until it practically became motor oil, this is what I'd have. So it's truly boiled down beer juice, for lack of a better term. And I got 2 cans of it. So that's a lot. A lot of juice. So here's some other important things that you don't get in every kit. Priming sugar. All right, so I'm going to use this on bottling day. This is actually what's going to kickstart or restart my fermentation process. So when I bottle this stuff, absolutely need this. If I'm not going to bottle, if I'm going to go straight into a keg, I don't need this at all. And as you may have guessed, bottle caps are also for that part of the process. Again, if you're not bottling, well, I got some free caps. Another fun thing you'll find is, they gave me 60 caps. That is really, wow, that's not a great estimate of how many I'll need. If I could get 60 bottles out of 5 gallons, that would be pretty impressive. I don't think I've ever pulled that off. So I might use 42 to 45 of these on a good day, and then I got a bunch of caps left over. So after a while, these accumulate. Obviously keep them. They don't expire, and you can just use those for a future brew project. So that's it. That's everything you see here comes in that one box. And there's really nothing left for me to add. What we'll talk about with some of these other kits, you don't always get the yeast. And a lot of times the reason why they don't put the yeast in there is because the expiration is so short. This product doesn't stay on the shelves very long. So it's easier for them to say, just add this style yeast to get going. Another thing is they'll say not everybody wants to use dry yeast. We'll talk about that in another video, but certainly there's different ways to get your yeast. This is just one way of serving it up to you. But the other thing they generally do not supply you is the bottling goods. And again, why wouldn't they give that to you? Well, maybe you're not going to bottle it. We can't assume that everybody wants to bottle. They might want to put it in kegs, in which case you don't need these supplies. So that's all for this first section, and then in a moment here I'll show you another brew kit. Okay, so got another brew kit here. This one is from Northern Brewer. This is the Dead Ringer Ale Extract Kit. It did have some letters that rubbed off, so it looks like the DEA Ringer Ale Extra Kit. It is the Dead Ringer Ale Extract Kit. So Dead Ringer Ale is basically a common recipe. There's a lot of different ways you can obtain that recipe. You could go and download it and run it yourself using a extract or even an all grain. It is based on the American IPA that's brewed in Michigan under the Bell's label, and it's Bell's Two Hearted. So Dead Ringer is kind of like a little joke or a pun on Bell's Two Hearted Ale. So there you go. Bell's also has their own kit, which is an all-grain kit. You can actually go to Bell's website and buy it, and the price is very reasonable. On the ingredients list, they actually say that the hops are their select hops. So in other words, they're telling you, you buy the kit from us, you're getting the same exact things that we put in our own beers. So that's pretty cool. Anyhow, I think all of these kits work pretty well. I've used a couple different variations. This one just happens to be from Northern Brewer Homebrew Supply. So I like Northern Brewer a lot. Their equipment is hit or miss. It's all pretty cheap. They ship very quickly. They've got a pretty good thing going. But again, hit or miss. I'll talk a little bit more about their homebrew equipment when we get to the brewing process. But this is one of their kits, and again, I do this not so much just to review this particular kit and what it tastes like and how much fun it is to do, but I do this so you can see what's in the box. These are almost like, I almost consider this like an unboxing video for homebrew kits. I think that should be out there somewhere. So on the label, you get an idea of what kind of beer this is if you didn't know. You get some information such as the original gravity you can expect to get. Notice they didn't put the final gravity on the label. Again, that's something you get in the instructions on the Brewer's Best kit. You don't get that here. But something you get here that you didn't get on the other kit, it tells you how soon it will be ready to drink. And it says about 6 weeks. So that's pretty accurate. So anyhow, let's see what's inside this kit. Pop the box. First thing I see, ooh, glorious hops. Citra hops. Nice. What's this? Centennial hops. Nice. And you're going to see these are in 1 ounce packages. A lot of recipes are 1 to 2 ounces of hops for at least for the size that we're brewing, which is 5 gallons. Just about every one of these kits is a 5-gallon brew. But yet, we see it packaged in 2 different packages. And like the last kit, we saw we put all our hops in at once, but we still had 2 1-ounce packs. And I just throw out there, sometimes this is for manufacturing. It's easier for them to put them in 1-ounce packages than to have some kits that come with a 2-ounce bag. They'll just throw 2 1-ounce bags in there. Makes it easy. But if you have to split this up in the brewing process and add 1 hop in the beginning and 1 ounce in the beginning, 1 ounce in the middle somewhere, it's pre-measured. So, I don't have to get out my little scale and weigh these. They're already sorted for me, which is pretty cool. All right, so what do I got here? More Centennial hops. So there I got 2 ounces of that. And again, more Centennial hops. 3 ounces Centennial hops. All right, what else we got in here? Oh, dogs thought I was talking to them. She hears me doing this voice and she thinks I must be making something for her. Not yet. Not yet. Now, there are some great things you can do with spent or used grain, and one of those is to make dog cookies. They love those suckers. Look, here he comes. Yeah, they get excited when these kits come out because they know that within the hour they'll have some delicious dog cookies. Not yet, though. Not yet, guys. Sorry. All right, so still going through the kit here. What do we got? Dead Ringer Grain Blend. So this is actually a couple different types of grain pushed into one bag. They didn't care to put that on the label, but I bet if we go back to the lid, it's going to tell us what's in there. So, yeah, there we see the mallard malts and fermentables. No, that's just the syrup. Yeah. They did not tell us what kind of grain is in there. That's kind of weird. Anyhow, we know there's some common 2-row stuff in there. And probably like, maybe like a small amount, maybe like 4 ounces of honey. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the recipe myself. I don't remember now. So we also get a sock. Again, don't assume that your kit comes with any of this stuff. So we got a sock. We got to put our grain in that. You need one. Hopefully your kit came with it. We also have some extract syrup. So here we've got gold malt extract syrup. This is 6 pounds of it in a weird rubbery plastic container. Remember, the Brewer's Best actually came with cans. This is kind of like a milk carton material. Then we have a smaller carton of gold malt extract syrup, and this is 3 pounds. 3.15 pounds. So there you go. We've got a 6-pounder and a 3-pounder. So 9-some pounds. Good math. All right, and at the very bottom, if I can get it out of there, we have the recipe. So this is where I start taking points away from most of the homebrew kits, is the instructions are generally not great. With the Brewer's Best, you had everything laid out in nice little columns. Every one of their recipes lays out the same way. You've got some information up here about the original gravity, final gravity, those kinds of things. So this one just sort of trails on, and this is pretty typical of what you get in one of these kits. And if I flip it over, nothing on the back. So they probably had like a one-page copier and they just run these off. Another thing is, don't want to knock on Northern Brewer too much, but I have found some really silly typos in here where you have like the same step twice, or you have two step number 7s, things like that. Sometimes there's just misspelled words in here. So they're not great. Also, the print is really small. So if you're looking at that going, man, I can't read that. Yeah, it's, you know, it's fine print, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's one-sided. So they do tell you the more important details. You see the original gravity, that's the OG here. So when we get into the brewing process, that's something we need to know. We need to record that. They don't tell you the final gravity. Now that's really up to you, you know, as far as how you ferment your beer. If you do everything right, you're going to hit a general mark. You know, you're going to fall in a range somewhere, and that's how you know you did it right. A lot of times home brewers just look to, when they're doing their final gravity readings, they're just waiting for it to trail off or to stop moving. And that means you're no longer producing any more alcohol in your wort. So again, these are technical details we can get into later when we talk about brewing, but it would be nice if they told us a final gravity that we can come to expect. It irks me when they leave that out. But otherwise, these are pretty common instructions here. They tell you this is how you should, you should collect some water. You should have some bottles for when you do bottling, which is going to be weeks from now. They tell you if you have yeast, you should unpack your yeast and make sure it's good. Uh-oh, no yeast. So, my wife's a pretty good shopper. She actually had read the description carefully, and when they told her, hey, you need yeast or you have to add yeast, she added it. So I got that separately, and it's already been put in the fridge to keep safe. Safe and fresh. But it did not come with yeast. And now if you're paying attention, there's a couple other things we did not get in the box. Hello! We did not get bottle caps, and we did not get priming sugar. So something I mentioned in the other little clip there was that you don't always need them. If you're going to be putting this into a keg, what am I going to do with bottle caps and priming sugar? So we don't assume that you're going to bottle. And they did not. They did not give us the bottling items. So those are very cheap add-ons. My wife did not add those things because we've got a pretty good surplus of those things. So like I had mentioned, you tend to have bottle caps left over. We oftentimes buy our own bottle caps because we get a good deal, or we like to get some different colored bottle caps or whatever. So we've got a collection. We've also got a pretty good amount of priming sugar because it's cheap. Depending on how you buy it, where you buy it, you can get a big pound bag for like $1.50. So it's cheap. Another thing you sometimes get in a kit, Brewer's Best does not include it, and Northern Brewer did not include it either. Sometimes they actually give you the sanitation packets. So they give you a little pack of powdered brew wash, or just sanitate. Generally, they call it a no-rinse sanitizer. So you definitely need that stuff. They just assume that you have some on hand. If you get a home brewing kit where it has all the equipment that you need to homebrew, they usually throw a little bit of that stuff in there. It's cheap, but not enough to keep on hand to continually brewing. So make sure you have powdered brew wash on hand because very few kits come with it. So anyhow, that's our Dead Ringer Ale kit from Northern Brew Supply. And yeah, there's 2 different kits. I hope you picked up some differences, and maybe this helps you determine your favorite or who you should buy a kit from. So in the future, I'll probably do some more of these. There's another company we like called Boom Chug-a-Lug. I can throw that link down in the comments for you. Great brew kits from those guys. There's a lot of homebrew shops out there that do kits. If you have a homebrew shop near you, maybe call them up and ask them if they have kits. Just about everybody sells Brewer's Best kits, including, I'm sure, your local homebrew shop. Also, a good time to throw a shout out to local homebrew shops is they kind of depend on people like us to shop with them once in a while. So I know right now it's as I'm filming this, it's COVID-19 season, and people are just now going to be leaving the house here soon, and maybe those shops will open back up. But they kind of depend on your business, so don't get everything online. Maybe go out and visit them once in a while. Not only are they great places to shop, you'll probably learn something while you're there. A lot of times there's guys and gals just standing around in there kind of doing water cooler discussions about the brewing process. I've actually been to some where they're outside with their kettles and they're just out there brewing and making beer. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, cool places to hang out. Very knowledgeable people working at those places. And they make their own recipe kits a lot of the time. If they don't have a kit, tell them what you're looking for. They will assemble it while you wait, which is also pretty cool. That's, gathering the grains. They'll tell you all about yeast. They'll get you the hops you need, all that stuff. And that may be a cheaper way to go, too. Another thing is we don't assume that we save money with a brew kit. Oftentimes we do. But again, that's not 100% of the time. And if you're going to brew in larger than 5-gallon amounts, you're guaranteed to save money when you start going into 10 and 15-gallon brews. That is not using a kit. So anyhow, hope these little clips were informational and helpful to you. And happy brewing.